Hey everyone, I'm AdamHarry with
JayArr.
And we're back with another quick BoLS overview. Today we're looking at Through the Breach, which is the core rule set for Wyrd's RPG role-playing game set in their Malifaux universe.
Ooh.
So I'm pretty excited about this one. JayArr, how familiar are you with Malifaux?
I know that it is like a sort of magic steampunk Wild West kind of setting, right?
It is a weird Wild West steampunk magic. Yeah, it's pretty much all those.
Yeah, we're like in. you've got gunfighters and
it's kind of turn of the century.
Yeah, mixed in with like undead and
it's got steam power, it's got guns, it's got magic. It's cool. If you're not familiar at all with it, go check out Wyrd-Games.net. Wyrd has a bunch of really cool stuff out there right now. They have some really cool miniatures actually too. So if you just like collecting cool minis, they have a ton of really great stuff. Obviously, all that stuff's going to be compatible in terms of miniatures. If you're playing an RPG and would like to have miniatures, they've got you covered.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in.
Yeah. So here we go. Real quick, Through the Breach, you are playing with, instead of being called the character, you are called a fated, because you can control or manipulate your own fate.
Right, because you've been given a glimpse into what destiny has in store for you.
Therefore, you can manipulate it and tweak things to your own desires.
Cool.
So it's pretty cool stuff. That's what your character's playing as. You want to talk about the core mechanics before we get into some of the character creation stuff?
So, if you've played Malifaux, you know that it's a card-based game.
Yeah. Actually, we'll show the table of contents and then we'll jump to the mechanics real quick. So that we'll get. So yeah, starting here. Here's the table of contents. It's gonna go over the world, character creation, the pursuits,
which are classes,
basically, skills, general talents, equipment, magic, gameplay. Bestiary, however you want to say it. Both apparently are acceptable.
And then a sample adventure and all the indexes, character, all that stuff.
Yeah. We're actually going to skip straight to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Just so we can talk about it and show you what we're talking about. So
because you got to understand how this works before you understand like what the characters and stuff mean.
Yeah, it won't make a lot of sense if you don't know the core mechanics. So again, if you're familiar with Malifaux or Wyrd Games in general, they don't typically use dice.
Right.
So what's your random number generator?
Cards.
Bingo.
Ah.
So this game uses a fate deck, just like Malifaux and other games. You've got your rams, crows, tomes, and masks, which translates to hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds. Right. So if you have it, it's just a standard poker deck.
You can use
52 cards or 54 if you have the joker. You should have the jokers.
Yes.
You can use that, or you can buy the fate decks from Malifaux, whatever.
And then you've got like the special suits and all that stuff.
Yeah. So you've got your fate deck, which is kind of like the communal party pool.
It's the pool of luck or whatever. So basically, each character will have their own stats, their aspects, which are like attributes. Basically, it's the
skills and attributes.
Yeah, there's skills and attributes, right? And you'll add those values together, and that'll give you like your total with whatever you're trying to do.
It's called like the active total or the starting total. Whatever.
Sure. Basically, that gives you your starting value at whatever skill you're trying to accomplish. And then the GM will set, let's see if we can see it. The GM will set the target number for something you're trying to do, or we'll tell you what it is.
Acting value, sorry. Yeah.
So say you're trying to do something hard, you might have a target number to hit of like, let's say 13 because of fate.
Yeah.
So if your aspect plus your skill rating only brings you up to a 7, then you don't do it. That's where the fate deck comes in.
Bingo.
The fate deck, you flip over the card, and that's what you get.
Yeah, so backing up real quick, the fate deck is the main communal deck that you're going to draw your cards from whenever you have these challenges, which are called duels. So the game master will set forth, or the fate master will set forth the challenge like you just talked about. Say it's a 13 to pick this lock. Sure. You'd add up your acting values like JayArr just said, so you'd have probably your agility plus your sneak value or whatever the appropriate skill would be.
Right.
And it would get you your acting value. And you're trying to just get to the target number. So you'd have that 6, and you'd have to draw a card from the fate deck. say you drew a 4.
Oh, that only gets me an 11.
Yeah, so you're very much short. No, if you got a 6 base plus 4, you only have a 10.
Oh, a 10, yeah.
Yeah, so even worse.
I failed.
Yeah, normally for most people that don't have the ability to twist their fate,
that's it.
That's it. You
That's
just
all
failed
she
to
wrote.
However, you are the fated. You can manipulate fate. You have a twist deck.
And unlike what you might be thinking, it's not a deck of plot reveals from M. Night Shyamalan movies.
What a twist!
It's just another hand of card. It's another deck that
It's a mini
you
deck.
draw from.
Yeah.
And you can have up to 5 of your own personal twist cards in your hands at once, and they represent your character's ability to control their destiny. So at any time, like whenever you're doing something, you can swap out one of your cards, which has a value from 1 to 13, ace through king, with the ace representing 1 and the king 13, that you can replace the fate deck's top card with.
Yeah. So basically, if you drew that, what was it, a 4? We said.
Yeah.
And you have your twist deck. You have your hand of cards that
And
you've
got a 7.
You've got a 7. You can say, I'm going to use my twist card instead. And you discard the fate card to the discard pile, and you use your fate card instead, which then goes to your other discard pile.
Right.
And you have now successfully completed the challenge.
But for a time, you've also used up your 7, so that won't be in your deck anymore.
Correct. Until you can reshuffle, which they go into all that later on.
That's all like the complicated stuff. But basically, the basic mechanic is you've got a hand of cards that you can use to mess with the communal pool of cards, which you can use to add to your skill value, which you can use to try and hit the target number. So
again, it's just target number that you're trying to hit, plus your abilities and skills, plus a card which you can manipulate. And that's pretty much it. That's how you accomplish the duels or challenges in other systems to get things done.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool mechanic.
Other than that, that's pretty much it as far as how to do things, and there's ongoing challenges and things like that. And there's also triggers too, like other things can happen, like different abilities will say, like, if you fail this ability or this check, then this happens, or if you pass this check, this can happen too.
Yeah,
it's more complicated rules.
And there's like the ability of some characters to keep people from manipulating fate, or to make it easier to manipulate fate. Like there's a ton of complex interplay around that core mechanic, but that's basically flip a card, add some numbers together, see if you beat the target number.
Yeah. What's really interesting to me too is the way the decks work is there's not. I mean, you do eventually reshuffle, and there's things that can trigger that. But just like JayArr said, there's ways to get multiple cards or to manipulate those decks either way. And yeah, it's kind of this neat meta game with the decks, because you can't actually, nothing's stopping you from counting cards.
Right.
It's actually probably encouraged.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll kind of give you an insight as to what you've got left in the tank, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, if you are the type of person that's really good with probabilities or card counting, and are looking for an RPG to play, like, this is perfect for you, because you can actually use those, poker skills.
Right.
And if you know the probabilities of things, it can actually really help out.
And this being the Wild West,
it kind of fits.
It kind of fits. It makes a ton of sense. So let's jump back now and take a look at.
I want to talk about the lore real quick.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to skip back to the table of contents. The world of Malifaux. This is called Through the Breach. If you're not familiar, in the world of Malifaux, you take the regular world. There was a giant breach that opened up into the world of Malifaux from the real world, and now people are transitioning back and forth. It's kind of like the Wild West in the sense that it's a new frontier.
Right.
And where magic is a real thing, and it's steampunk meets magic meets World West. Okay. That's the history of Malifaux in a nutshell. It's actually really cool.
Yeah.
A really cool background. There's goblins, there's undead, there's demons, there's monsters.
There's all kinds of
mad scientists.
Yeah.
You should totally check it out. It's worth a read. There's about 70 pages of backstory that you can read.
That's a lot
in this book just by itself, and it goes through a quick timeline.
Oh yeah, and as you can see, this is a big book too.
This is dense.
It's like 400 something pages.
Yeah,
so you get a lot with this book.
By the way, real quick, since you brought it up, it is some physical traits hardback. It's 400 and something pages. 400 and probably like 15 pages.
Yeah.
Long, full color all the way through. Lots of artwork, lots of text as well. So it's like we were saying, it's pretty dense. Pretty nice construction, I must say, with the multiple bookmarks, which is kind of nice.
Different colors and all that.
Yeah, which is super handy actually if you're flipping through.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Anyway, there's a quick timeline that kind of goes over the history of the game. Again, it's turn of the century, 1907-ish.
That's a cool era. There's a lot of neat stuff that was happening at the turn of the century, and it was very like industrialized in some places and frontier life in others.
Yeah, it's like this weird clash of modern and Wild West. So, and there's a quick map of Malifaux City. You take a train, by the way, to go through the breach. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
It's a train station.
Well, that makes sense.
A lot of stuff is run by the guild. They're kind of the good guys / bad guy. It's weird. They're the guild, depending on what side of the line you are on. But this is all backstory about the different factions within there. So we've got the guild. We've got Neverborn.
I like that they have the Department of Public Relations inside the guild.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of different things.
Cool.
There's guild masters that, if you're familiar again with Malifaux, then yeah. There's the Resurrectionists, Ten Thunders, Neverborn, the Outcast, Gremlins. If you like little goblinoid dudes, they're
Heck
fun.
Yeah.
Character creation.
All right.
Like most RPGs, it's got a really in-depth character creation process. We're going to touch on some of it. We're not going to go through all of it because you should buy the book and do it yourself. But basically there's physical aspects, mental aspects. Your physical aspects are might, grace, speed, resilience. Which those are pretty self-explanatory.
Sure. And your mental aspects are charm, cunning, intellect, and tenacity.
Yeah. Again, pretty straightforward. You do have your skills and talents, which you talked about. Those are your modifiers to your acting value.
Yeah,
to do things.
All of the fancy things.
First up, you're going to come up with a concept.
Right.
So most of them, yeah, don't work on it too hard, but like have an idea in mind of what you think this character should be.
What's really interesting is kind of playing into the whole fate thing.
It's a tarot reading.
Yeah, that's how they kind of figure everything out. Like you get a hand of cards that kind of determine your fate, and they kind of help fill in your backstory. They talk about where you are in life, and then you get a look at what your ultimate character's destiny is, which can be
probably gonna die in a
almost certainly.
These are basic pursuits. Each fated character has a pursuit, and that's kind of a reflection of how they work or how they view the world.
Yeah.
And it also affects how you get your twist cards back in your hand. For example, I was reading earlier about the wastrel. Those are the card sharks and gamblers. Wastrels are gamblers who are capable of gambling with their own fates. They do some neat manipulation stuff. Think of them kind of like scoundrels meet bards in other RPGs.
Gotcha.
There's obviously other more combat-oriented classes or research-oriented classes. Like the academic is all about getting. I mean, it's academic, so learning
or the
stuff.
Mercenary, who's all about
guns,
being a hired gun and stuff like that.
Fighting for money.
So one thing that's worth pointing out while we're talking about the pursuits.
Dabblers also. They're the spellcasters types.
The pursuits are a lot like the careers
or jobs, yeah,
or jobs or whatever. If you've played any of like the 40K role-playing games or like
kind of like Star
Fantasy or something, well, a little more like these because you're kind of expected to change pursuits as the game goes on. Like at the start of every adventure, there's a built-in opportunity where you can say, oh well, I'm going to be an overseer and advance as an overseer and pick up these talents. Whereas the next day you might be a tinkerer and pick up some tinkerer talents, and you keep them back and forth. Like there's some stuff that you keep whenever you change, but
you don't have to, but you can.
Yeah, and similarly, as you'll see here, they have advanced pursuits as well. So here's like some close-ups in on some of the classes. There's the gunfighter,
Here's their advancement table. You get kind of an idea of how that works. Their pursuit is called, when they're on the pursuit, when they can draw cards, called High Noon. When this character fails a ranged combat duel during dramatic time, she may draw a card. So basically, if you miss a shot, you get to draw a card to help out. So next time you get hopefully a little bit better.
Totally, and you get some choices here every now and then, like at step 3 along the advancement track. So whenever after every adventure or something, you can advance. You can pick up Call Out or Bulletproof. Call Out lets you figure out, like, you can basically intimidate someone, and you can add your skill at shooting them with them to doing that, and you can get people to pay attention, listen to you. Bulletproof makes you take less damage because you're tougher. So
yeah, you get the idea there. And again, it's all full art, so like you can get an idea. There's the Scrapper, who's the melee combatant, which is super deadly. I wanted to show off the Wastrel because I thought they were probably my favorite class so far. Yeah, it's the Card Sharks. If you watched Maverick, the movie,
that is this guy right here.
Yeah,
I love that hat.
That's pretty sweet. I love the fact that he has cards in his sleeves, and you're playing a card-based RPG. I don't know. It's just the whole card motif going on there. But he totally cheats. He's got an ability that actually lets him manipulate the Fate deck.
Yeah, it's so pretty cool. They're card. You were saying they're card sharks, both within the game
and above the board. Like it's this meta thing where like at any point during their turn during dramatic time, they can discard a card from their hand to manipulate the top 3 cards of the Fate deck. You can either look at the top 3 cards and discard them, or put them all back in a different order, which is pretty cool. If you know your friends are going up next, you're like, hey, I'm gonna make sure you guys get good cards. Or if you know the bad guys are going, I guess you can set them up to take a fall. So, and they get a bunch of other cool stuff, mulligans. So anyway,
yeah, well, they have an ability here called Gamble Your Life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool. I think they might be my favorite class in this thing as well.
Yeah. The Wastrels seem really fun.
Yeah. Then on top of that, you can get like advanced classes, or advanced pursuits, where you get like all the cool miniatures that are associated with Malifaux. Because I know I've seen some of these guys.
You do have special requirements to do that, which it's kind of in-game requirements. So, like for example, the Grave Servant here, the character must locate a fragment of the Grave Spirit's essence and claim it for their own. How exactly you do that is kind of up to you. But it should be kind of a difficult task. So these more advanced pursuits are kind of goals for your character, I guess, in a way. So keep that in mind. You can't just skip around on those. The skills, we kind of talked about that. We'll go over those real quick. Yeah. Most RPGs have a skill system, so
it's pretty much what you're used to. You've got academic skills, you've got physical skills.
You've got ranks in them. So
yes.
That's another big thing. So, yeah. Martial arts, if you're doing close combat, how trained are you at different styles of fighting? So grappling or martial arts, or are you just a big slugger?
Do you use pneumatic weapons? Because this is a steampunk setting.
Pugilism, the old, the sweet science. Jinx, yep. Sweet science of boxing.
There's a lot of different stuff. They've got a very in-depth crafting system. Basically, the rank you have with your crafting determines what kind of stuff you can build.
Yeah.
You can make art, or you can make steampunk artifacts.
Or mix some chemicals up and blow stuff up. Whatever.
Yeah. each of these has value depending on the party you're in. Yeah. I would love to see someone like just kind of cheat their way through the game with art.
Or the culinary. I think this is interesting. Being able to cook food. And get out of the jams. So
real quick, what can you make at rank 5 of the cooking, the culinary skill?
Oh man, you can make izukuriki. I said that wrong, but it's a living fish that is sliced into thin sheet-like slices and served while still alive, which is creepy.
Whoa.
You can do roasted pork and vegetables. Consommé. You could do beef Wellington.
Oh, baked Alaska.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. You at rank 3 though, you can make liquor. So really,
that's
you get
that's
rank,
all you need. Rank 3.
Rank 3 to win.
Call it
that's
a day.
Basically, you can also take up printing as a hobby. That way you can print books with gilt edges or gold leaf.
Or stitching, and if you get really good, you can make tuxedos or clothing that starts fashion trends.
That's
and
impressive.
Known by your name.
That's right. Expertise in ranks. Expertise is another skill set. So that's stuff like being a doctor or a gambler, like a wastrel, things like that. So.
There's a lot of skills, and then on top of that, there are a lot of talents that you can pick.
Oh, here's an example of the triggers. We mentioned these real quick.
Yeah.
So these are things that can, again, trigger another effect. So, for instance, back to the wastrel as our example, gambling triggers tend to manipulate the fate deck, allowing a character to catch a glimpse of what fate has in store for her and alter it slightly. So these are based on the suit. So the ram is a shuffle. After succeeding, you may discard a twist card to reshuffle the discard pile back into the fate deck. No characters may draw cards as a result of this reshuffling. So, again, there's triggers that happen, and we mentioned it earlier to reshuffle the decks. Like, you don't just discard all the cards and then once you're out of cards, you're done for the day. No, there are things that will cause you to reshuffle the deck. So
and that's one of them.
And that is one of them. So
let's hop over to talents real quick.
Yeah.
Here these are like
feats
basically that you can get. A lot of them have some kind of requirement of like what your aspect is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, with this one, like better part of valor is one that requires you to have a negative tenacity because you run away. But it helps you become like faster. So
yeah.
Anyway, these are all a bunch of different feats that you can pick up. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. And then we're starting to get back into the mechanics of the game. But
let's skip over to the best. Oh, magic! We do have magic in the game. I don't want to get into magic because it's kind of more in depth than we really want to get. But
no, let's
that is the thing you can do.
Let's hop over to the monsters.
Yeah, I want to talk about the monsters real quick. There's a ton of stuff in the monster manual here.
There's a ton.
Yeah.
You've got human enemies. You've got robot enemies.
Yeah.
All basically, you've got stats and rules for all those Malifaux models that you've been hanging on to.
Oh yeah. If you have a Malifaux collection or a couple of different crews, which is what they're called in Malifaux, you can probably find your model represented here with stats to run them as either NPCs or, if you want to use them as characters in the game, totally do that too.
Use them as characters. There are a lot of animal and human, just like normal people models, but as well, you saw like some of the robots. There's a Ronin lady.
Yeah.
Here's a rogue construct. There's a ton of stuff here.
It's just gonna keep going, but yeah, there's the Rotten Bell. You get the idea. There's some of the scary, nightmarish, unborn stuff. Super creepy. It gets into some of the models that Wyrd is kind of famous for. They're kind of weird. I don't know how else to describe them, but they're really cool. The pigs. Oh man, I remember that crew. But yeah, it's basically their whole miniature range has been converted to NPCs and stuff in the bestiary. So
yeah. So if you're looking for a game that lets you kind of play in the Weird West, or if you're looking for something to do with all those Malifaux minions besides
play Malifaux,
this is a pretty cool looking game. I like the mechanics. I think it's an interesting twist on normal things.
Yeah.
The advancement is interesting as well because you're expected to kind of hop around, so you'll have like weird, well-rounded characters that do all kinds of crazy things by the end.
I really like the card mechanics. I like the fact that if you know how to count cards, it will make you a better mechanical player. But at the same time, it's still random. Like it's random enough to keep it interesting. Like you're not gonna know exactly. Oh, I'm gonna pull this ace. Boom. But it's just fun. It's a different kind of way to generate the random results, which is always fun.
Absolutely.
I do like rolling dice, but this makes me want to play poker too. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's super flavorful. Like I feel like we should be, if you're gonna play this, you should put on like some hats and
some goggles.
Get a little tin star and
right.
a long coat.
Right, and talking weird Western accents.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's a role-playing game. You should do that anyway. But it looks like a ton of fun. That's a basic overview of Through the Breach. Again, this is the core rulebook from Wyrd. Go check them out online. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm AdamHarry.
And I'm JayArr.
And we're both from BoLS. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.